Now this last major category I like to call the braids. Braids aren't really knotting, more than twisting. This one you may have seen before. It's called the Chinese staircase. This is one of my favorites as far as the ones I've done. The actual staircase was created using clear boondoggle with a red, white, and blue strand that runs through the center. To create that twisted pattern, I would do about 5 stitches of that Chinese staircase and then twist the center strands before I did another 5, then twist them again, and so on to create this beautiful pattern. Remember earlier in a video I said I hate knots? If we take a look at the end of this, you'll see what I did. Do you recognize that stitch? That's a square stitch. I have red, white, blue, and the transparent clear. 4 strands to let me create a square stitch. Again, I hate knots. Now the Chinese staircase is kind of neat because you can do it a different way. In this Chinese staircase, I also used 4 colors. And I did the same thing down here. This time I used circle stitch, another 4 strand stitch. But if you'll notice, every now and then I switched the strand that I was working with. Just like that red, white, and blue one, I would do a little, then I would twist the middles, do a little more, and so on. What makes this a little on the tougher side is trying to get this lined up. See where the yellow ends and the green starts? And if I come down here where the green starts and the purple starts, it's almost like it has to step backwards a little bit. Where this purple and blue do it, it's even a little more defined. If you're not careful, it'll actually start twisting in the other direction. This one though, I did pretty well. And it spins around the way it's supposed to all the way down. That's the Chinese staircase. Oh, one more thing. This Chinese staircase was created with strands that were all the same length. This red, white, and blue one, that see-through color had to be a lot longer than the center strands. I would say about 3 times as long as the strands in the middle, because that's the one that's going to wrap around and around and around. Now if you take 4 more strands, you can do this stitch. This one you've seen a lot. The Boy Scouts love this stitch. It's the lanyard stitch. This is called twist. Again, it's done using 4 strands of boondoggle. Here I did a nice cleanup with a square stitch. Here it is again. Okay. Now what's neat about this stitch is if you slightly change the order you put the strands in the beginning, you get a totally different stitch. Look at this stitch. The actual braid is identical, but see the way the pattern is? This is called the diamond braid. The actual braid is identical. It's just dependent upon where you put the strands when you very first start the stitch. Diamond braid, twist braid, or spiral braid. Now the next one you've seen on my site is a project, and I've actually got 2. This is the Cobra stitch. The Cobra is actually the body. The head is what we call King Cobra. King Cobra is just a Cobra stitch done on top of an existing Cobra stitch. So I started down here, went all the way around, and actually came all the way down here to where the eyes were. Then turned the stitch around and started to do Cobra again, coming back this way to create the fat head. And then the 2 eyes were the 2 working strands that I created. The tongue actually runs down the middle of the Cobra all the way to the end. Down here you can see a little bit of it peeking out at the tail. Then I decided to change how I did the strands. In the first Cobra I created, I had green as my working strand. In the second, it was black. But the same set of circumstances occurred. The red tail, you can even see it peeking out down here, create that little bracelet. If I turn this bracelet over, you'll see how I did it. Remember I said that when you do King Cobra, you do Cobra down to the end, then you turn around and you bring Cobra back on top to create the head. But that puts your strands down here. To create the eyes, I bring them up, send them through, tie my knot to create the eye. But what's neat is this little X creates a place for you to stick the tail to make it an adjustable bracelet. Isn't that neat? And the last one I want to show you in this category is the butterfly stitch. This is butterfly. It kind of reminds me of crochet. I'm purposely hiding what I've done with this butterfly. Butterfly is a neat stitch, but it's hard to come up with ideas on things to create with it. So what I decided to do is make a ring out of it. The ring itself is butterfly. The jewel is circle stitch. Isn't that neat? Alright, I'm going to show you one more basic category. Then I'm going to show you the cool stuff. Okay, in this last section of the first video, let's answer a question or two. Somebody said, what can I do with only 3 strands of boondoggle? 4 strands is the basis for most regular stitches, square and circle and so on. But what could you do if you only had 3? Well, here's an example right here. This stitch is called triangle, and it's done very similar to square. It's kind of hard to see, and I don't know if I can get it angled just right, but it actually creates a triangle with 3 sides. Neat stitch. Now, triangle is kind of a square stitch. There is a way to do twisted triangle, and this one is an example. It almost looks like I took a regular triangle and simply twisted it a little bit, but actually it has a very slow spiral. On this particular stitch, I did regular triangle to about here. Then I did this twisted triangle out to about here, and then went back to regular triangle. What I was trying to do was get the black and the orange on this end lined up with the black and the orange on that end. Let me show you one that's a complete twisted triangle from start to finish. This one was created with 2 strands of dark purple and 1 strand of light purple. And all the way to the end, you have a very slow spiral and only 3 strands. Now, what if you had another odd number, like 5? This one I talked about on my site, but I never had a chance to show it to you. This is another oddity. This one's called the Pentagon stitch. Done almost identical to square, except 5 strands. Kinda neat, huh? I'll show you some other goofy ones in another video. But now it's time to show you some of the cool ones. See you later. Bye-bye.